Welcome back to the M3 podcast. This week we got Dre, Logan on from the MMG crew. We got Kyle Handy on. So I think this is a long time coming. We've been working together for quite some time and do a lot of great work in construction world and renovations. So where do we start the story? Where do you want to start this story?
Which story do you want to tell?
The story of you.
Yeah.
It's got to start somewhere.
Got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
So.
Where do you grow up?
Hospital where you want it.
Somewhere where we start. We need to
right.
know vital details.
Yeah.
Security question kind of questions.
Mother's maiden name. We'll work through important
stuff. Yeah. So Carney's home. Been home, made a few ventures out into the world, but always made it back. So grew up here, went to school here. Like it's down the road from here. But yeah. So that's it. Been doing some form of real estate or construction for a long time. So.
And that summed it all up. Thank you for joining us on the podcast. So you go to school, go through old Kearney High.
Yeah.
Get done. What is the move right when you finish up with school?
So tried the college thing half-heartedly. Not my cup of tea. So got on the phone actually and just started selling. So I work for a company that would basically run infomercials and then turn around and say, hey, if you want to learn how to flip houses like whoever, then buy our book or buy our 12-step course or whatever it is. And then we would call those people after they bought and say, hey, you can read this book and try to do it on your own, or we can show you how to do it step by step. That's kind of what.
So did you learn a little bit about the housing market and things like that with that? No.
Nope. All sales.
So
How does one find that job?
There's only a handful of employers in a small town, and that was one.
That's true.
So family connections and knowing other people that did it. That's kind of how I ended up there. So I did that. Honestly, the less you know about whatever you're selling in that scenario is better.
Yeah.
Right. So, if you want to, in that scenario, this sounds terrible to say, but if you're trying to sell people a course about real estate, you don't really spend a lot of time talking about real estate. Right? You spend a lot of time talking about why they want to do it and how they're going to move forward and that kind of process.
It is something that we saw it all the time in the car space. They always say it's the beginner's luck in selling cars. And people first start selling cars, they didn't know a whole lot about cars. They don't know a whole lot about process, where they just ask questions to the people and they're actually doing what needs to be done.
Sure. And
it's funny, as they progress forward, they start getting some knowledge and they think that them just spewing out their automotive knowledge that they've learned makes them sound smart. In reality, they do themselves a disservice.
Yeah.
We always talked about it, like 90 days in, you would see new people in automotive sales go up and then they drop off.
Yeah.
And it was every excuse in the book of why it was wrong. I'm like, you sit out there acting like a know-it-all. You're trying to explain to them a finance process that you don't even know really, but you just, two pieces of it. I'm like, you're talking about cars that they're not even looking at buying because you just learned about it.
Yeah.
And
well, it's the same thing. I don't know anything about selling cars, but the automatic window, that's not what sells the car. Right?
No.
So that's the same thing on the phone. It's not, look at this great, whatever that we have. It's, well, why do you want to do this? And how are you going to do it? And how are we going to get you from here to here? And
it's painting the vision. I mean, they don't know how to, if they're buying a course on something, they obviously don't know how to do it. So you're painting them the vision of what their life looks like when they get there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same thing with us, selling it at MMG. It's, painting the vision of like what good marketing looks like.
Sure.
What it looks like when you have good marketing within your company.
Yeah.
So that's my key thing I do in every single sale. That I don't sell people. I just tell people what we have to offer.
Yeah.
And if they're interested in it, then they'll take it.
Yeah.
But it's the number one question I can ask people that closes majority of all of our deals. Where do you want to be? And they're going to tell you a goal and an idea of where they want to go. Great. What are the actionable steps that you're putting in place to get you there?
Yeah.
And most time you'll get, So if that's the case and you're just talking, like it's just words.
Yeah.
There's people that don't speak at all, but they just put things into action all day, every day, and they become very successful. But then there's some people that just talk about it and they never put anything into play and they never get anywhere.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of those guys that I'm like, they're still talking, they're still running their mouth. I'm like, everything you talk about, you don't do.
Yeah.
So there's a difference.
Yeah.
And that's where it's just, you have to put those things in play. And just to somebody flipping houses or whatever it may, I think selling anything, the idea of selling is the same.
Right. Well, it's almost totally not different, but like I don't sell at all. Like in the sense of like selling, right? You know, now it's all, you know, not even really, it's more like customer experience and, you know, what, you know, how you're going to follow the process or how we're going to get you through the process, not, you know, not look at this great bathroom that we did. Like, look how awesome it is. You know, that's not.
When you have great work and great service and processes, when clients are experiencing that, you can put people into the funnel to be talking to new clientele,
Sure.
moving the needle forward as a business. It's so much easier when you're talking to those people. There's also a confidence level. I feel like when people are getting like, my thing is I just have to challenge business owners to open their mind a little bit on what it is that they're doing.
Yeah.
That I eat, sleep, breathe growth. Yeah. And it's not like we just talk about it, like we do it ourselves. Yeah. Like I've never asked a client to do something that we don't actively do. And it's the same thing as like 4.5 years, MMG's been built off the foundation of exactly what we do for clients.
Yeah.
To where it's the writing's on the wall, it can be done. And it's like we have a ton of success records or stories that are all around us. But then there's some business owners that come our way that have no way, shape, or form should they be a business owner. They have excuses for everything. And it's just kind of wild that I sit there and I'm like, and now we're at a spot where you just tell those people no.
Yeah.
Like, great, go somewhere else.
Yeah. There's no law or anybody that requires you to be a good business owner. Anybody can do it and say that they are.
Yeah. And it's it's a hard space where we deal with a lot of different business owners come through that there's.
Yeah, I can only imagine the array of people that.
Well, I always remember thinking back as like a kid, you're like, they have a business, like they're making it.
That's what my kids think. I mean, not the older ones, but the younger ones, you know, they're like, you know, they think that's like the thing.
Yeah.
Right?
It's like, that's a pinnacle.
Yeah.
And then it's like, the thing is like, we've seen a lot of business owners where it's like, they operate outside their business.
Yeah.
And it's really cool to see. And it's like, that for me is like a huge goal, is like where they've been in business. And then you also see somewhere it's like, they've been in business for 25 years and they're doing the exact same thing today as they were 25 years ago. I'm like, where is your endpoint?
Yeah. Chasing the same thing.
Yeah. And I do think it's cool though, like when kids are intrigued with business and it's something that our society now has been such a pinhole that the only way you can succeed in our world is going to college.
Sure.
And it's funny, majority of the successful people that I'm around aren't people that went to college or people that dropped out of college.
Or went to college and then did something.
Yeah. And it's like, I have a college degree, but it's like, I mean, that has nothing to do with where our success is today. But it's I think it's cool when kids now are starting to see it. I think they're seeing it more online, that they're getting intrigued with and they can educate themselves and have a pathway to say, hey, this is what I want to do. Yeah. And instead of it just being like, we have to go to college first, you have to go do X, Y, and Z. And it's like, we had a guy on last week and he's like, what I learned about business was not from business. He has a major in business management or something. He's like, he took one, what was that class that Isaac had? It was something that they had at Missouri Western, but it was like for an entrepreneurial course that you could go in. And
he had a mentor that actually
showed
showed him the ropes.
So it was super cool. And he's like, I learned more in that singular class and program I did all the college put together. But I'm like, why are there not more things like that out there?
Yeah, it's twofold though, because you have to have some type of like tangible avenue to pursue it, because that's where you get all of the kids that just think like, oh, it's just this cool thing. it's easier. Everybody that has a business is killing it. Because they see all these dipshits online talking about stuff that they're not actually doing.
Yeah.
And it's like, it really is doing a disservice and harm to all of this younger generation, but these people don't care because it's working because they're watching it. That's the downside of social media.
That is the shitty thing is I've had people come into my office to sell me CEO training that have never been a CEO.
Yeah. I believe that.
I was like, what? It literally is like mind blowing when I sit there. I'm like, well, what was your job been?
Yeah.
Worked in corporate America at a mid-level position their whole career. And some dude 60 years old, he's like, I'm going to go train CEOs.
Yeah. I mean,
like, where do you get off? And like, you start talking like, and I mean, one of my main ads that's running right now is like, would you listen to a 600-pound personal trainer?
Yeah. Good point. I mean, same thing.
I tell people when they look at us, I'm like, we do that stuff. And I was like, same thing when I look at a business. Like, if you're doing construction and you're doing that kind of stuff every day, you're bidding jobs, you're doing all that, like, you're the expert in it.
Sure.
Like, if I was to get into that, I would listen to you.
Yeah.
Like, if you were like, hey, I'm going to go train guys on construction and bidding, and you're like, yeah, I've never done that before.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Well, same goes for, my relationship with you guys, right? Like, am I going to buy a camera and then like watch YouTube and then, try to edit some photos I don't.
And it's the crazy thing that we run into our industry, because we do have clients that try that shit, that they go in, they're like, well, I'm going to get a camera and I'm going to do my own content. I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. I'm like, just so you know, I was like, our prices continue to increase as we move forward. I was like, if you're locked into X, it's not going to be that way anymore in the future.
Yeah.
And they buy a camera. They can't really figure that learning curve out. I'm like, they can't really figure out the editing. I'm like, you're still in one department of our building. I go, you haven't even made it to the marketing side. I go, now I was like, you don't even have a marketing strategy of what you're going after with this camera.
Sure.
So I'm like, you missed step one. You just jumped ship on that whole thing. We have no marketing strategy. We have no direction where we're going. But we're going to grab a camera. We're going to film some random shit. Now we can't get it edited. Now actually we've got something put together. It's very mid-tier.
Yeah.
And then it's like, now what do we do with that? And then it's like, you get some stuff uploaded. Then you get to the ad forefront, and then it's a whole nother learning curve.
Yeah. That
the second you think you figure it out, Meta's going to change the whole shit on you again.
Yeah.
That's a moving target that we chase weekly.
Yeah.
And then all those things are happening. I'll look at people with ad spend, and I've had people come in and we figure out who their target audience is alone.
Yeah.
And like, I spend $5,000 a month in ads or $10,000 a month in ads.
Yeah.
You take somebody that spends $10,000 a month in ads, and you look at who their target audience is, it may be the top 5% of financial status.
Yeah.
So other $10,000 that they're spending, $9,500 of it is just.
Well, I think that sometimes because I'm a curious fella, right? So if I'm scrolling through and I see another contracting company or something, I'll click on it, see what they got going on. And, there'll be an ad on mine and I'll click on it. It'll be somebody in Texas or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well,
I actually did that there for a while. Is if I got ads anywhere outside, I would call the company. I'm like, hey, is your owner in?
Yeah.
Like, oh, who's this? I'm like, it's Dre. He knows I'm calling. And they're like, okay. So I get transferred. I'm like, hey, I see like you're using a company for ads. Are you doing it yourself? He's like, oh yeah, we're doing it ourselves. So I'm like, well, you're hitting me 4 states away.
Yeah.
Good job, buddy. Your money's going really far.
They're like, what? I'm like, I'm in Kansas City. I see you're in like Illinois. I'm like, I don't know if that's the target you're trying to hit, but I'm like, hey, I just want to bring this to your attention.
Yeah.
I'm like, but if you ever need help, give me a holler.
Let me know.
But I'm like, you're a ways away. And I'm like, the targeting, you may misplace a zero instead of 50 miles is 500.
But also a lot of times they forget one spot where, like, I mean, Dalton and Logan look over ads all day, every day, making sure over all these companies we're dotting the T's, crossing the T's, dotting the I's.
T's.
I'm only on my second drink.
Look really weird.
Yeah. But looking over all that stuff, just making sure it's right, making sure it's covered. Because, like I said, with $10,000, if you miss one detail in the targeting, you can burn 95% of that money.
Yeah.
And it's like when you start targeting it correctly, you know who that audience is, who you're going after, what their interests are, who that person really is. It makes it so easy to be able to capitalize and create leads that are coming in all the time. that we even do first party data lists on a lot of like B2B space stuff. And so like on our ads, like we have master lists of business owners in Kansas City that have between 20 and 50 employees. We can target those people with certain ads. We can target people in certain industries. Like it's amazing what you can do with it, but also the learning curve to learn that and do it well is wildly insane.
I'm sure
that it's even when I go in and I look at Meta now that I'm not in building ads and stuff every day, I'm like, I'll go in and build ads for ourselves sometimes. I'm like, what in the world? I'm like, Dalton, Logan. I'm like, where did they put this button at? And I'm like, I'm in there and put stuff together. I was like, I was literally just building stuff 2 months ago. When did this change? And Dalton's like, oh, probably like 3 weeks ago. Or Logan's like, hey, yeah, this changed. You got to make sure you go in. You got to do this here. He goes, if you're formatting it, you got to do this. And it's just like, it's so much to keep up with. And a lot of people are like, you guys just take pictures. I was like, yeah.
I've been getting served this one ad for the last like 4 weeks. Don't know what it is. It's like zoomed in on someone's head, I think. It's like just this part in the comments. I mean, they're getting good engagement. But like the comments
I actually kind of like the idea of it.
The comments are just like, what's going on? What WTF is this ad?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, maybe it's a strat. Like, I don't know if they're getting any conversions.
But sometimes it's leaning into something different. That like today I walk in one of our account managers and she's working on an account and they sell machinery.
Yeah.
And when the guy said it, he like slurred the words like because he was talking quick. He's like, yeah, when we're selling machines, and like goes through it, and she's like trying to fix it where she like takes machines from another spot. She's like doing the audio like overlay on it. And she's like working on it, trying to fix it. And I'm like, how long you been working on this? She's like, I don't know, 30 minutes or so. I go, just post it. And I was like, in the top, big caps, we're selling sheens out here. I was like, just lean into it. She's like, I like that. I was like, then people lean in, and like, then he just needs to start calling them sheens all the time. And they're like, that guy sells sheens. But sometimes when you see like a marketing play, that those hiccups can end up being the best thing.
Yeah.
That like a custom shop that we've worked with, and it's the first time he filmed, he gets done, he's like, that's all I got. I was like, great. Just lean into that.
Yeah.
That's all I got every time. He goes like national shows, everyone like, that's all I got. Like everyone knows him for that. They have license plates with it on.
That's a good one.
But it's just simple things like that that everyone wants to try to be so polished online. Yeah. That just be normal.
Yeah.
You don't have to be polished. I fuck up so much stuff online. I stumble over my words.
I know that guy's feeling because you start talking and then the next thing you're like, I don't even know where I was going with that.
Yeah. I will say podcasting has helped a lot, where it just got myself and a lot of us just comfortable being around.
Yeah.
Cameras where you just get to where you kind of ignore them.
Yeah.
And you don't have to think as much when you talk as you're actually thinking.
Yeah.
It's real easy to overthink it though when you're first doing it.
When you first do it. Yeah. That camera gets rolling, you're like,
Go check out episode 1 of the M3 podcast.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Don't waste your time.
Don't waste your time. Yeah, it's funny though. We'll be out shooting with clients and stuff, and people who are really good on a camera, and they're hitting their videos. They're great, and then we ask them to do like a happy holidays or a happy Thanksgiving,
something out of the norm, just a
happy
little bit.
New Year video.
Yeah.
And they're like over that. It takes 10 takes. They're overthinking. Shout out Hank.
Yeah.
I would say happy holidays from us at.
I believe it. Yeah, I believe it.
Just put Hank on the hot seat.
Hey, he knows it. He's great at content.
But so when you get in business in college, entrepreneurship or calling, what was the transition out of calling into
So
next stage?
So the next stage, so I did the same industry or same type of company, but instead of doing it on the phone, we did it in person. So for like 6 years, we would do events. So I would fly out on Thursday, fly to wherever, do a 3-day real estate workshop, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, fly home on Monday, every week. So
That was quite the schedule.
Yeah.
Did you say for 6 years?
Yeah.
Wow.
You have quite the frequent flyer miles.
I did. Yeah.
Still using those.
Yeah. So it was awesome. I mean, that part was awesome. It obviously had some major drawbacks, but.
Were they typically in like the same areas or?
No. So we just I think I've been to like 48 states or something like that. So they just literally fly us to a different city every week. And then, so people would go to a work, like a book, like I was talking about, or they would go to like a workshop that was a couple hours long, and they'd say, hey, you know, if you want to learn how to do this, then go to this 3-day workshop over whatever weekend, right? And then they would fly. I was on a team. They would fly us out, and you know, we'd work Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then fly back home. So that's like where the in-person thing came in. It's like, okay, you learn these skills on the phone, and then we're selling basically the same stuff, but now we're going to do it in person, right? Over the course of 3 days, as opposed to like a hour-long phone call. So that's where I learned a lot more.
You were getting people on the phone for an hour?
Somebody that would buy from us would be an hour. Yeah.
That's good. It's impressive.
Yeah.
So you were selling them in person, like extended training?
Basically.
Yeah.
So they would go to like this 3-day weekend, and then we would sell them like other events or like actual like one-on-one type coaching and stuff. So did that for, like I said, 5-6 years. And that's where like a lot of the personal skills kind of come into play. And it's a lot more, it's a lot more like we're sitting down talking now, right? It's a lot less like just get on the phone and try to read your script and, you know, try to do your thing. So I did that for a long time. And then, the benefits of that is you get to do a ton of cool stuff. The downfall of that is like you're never home. And when you are home, it's like Tuesday and Wednesday. So
did you have kids at that point?
yeah. So I had 2 kids. And so anyways, that didn't really work out on the home front. So that's when I quit. And basically it's like, well, what the heck? I didn't have a plan. It's like, what the heck am I going to do now? So
initial moment that you say, I'm done. Was there any type of plan, or is there just I'm done with this chapter of life, I got to figure something out?
So I was hoping to try to like start doing the real estate thing. And I was hoping to try to flip some houses. I got my real estate license to do that type of thing.
Because you'd sold the flipping courses for 6 years. You had
So by this point,
there might be some.
I was an expert.
He's like, you know what?
These people keep buying this.
So that was like kind of the hope, but you know, taking that stuff and then actually doing it is like 2 completely different things, right? Just like we were just talking about, it's easy to talk about, you know, hey, I'm going to do this, and oh, all you got to do is do this, and it all works out. And it's like, okay, well, now I actually got to figure it out. So, and I had a lot of help, luckily. So my parents have always flipped houses. So they both had full-time jobs, both worked full-time, and then they would buy like a house a year, right? Fix it all themselves, not hire anyone to do anything, sell it, you know, 6 months ago buy the next one. So
is this where you accumulated all of your skill set of working on these houses?
Some of it, but most of it was after that. Like I said, you know, my dad was doing, you know, a handful of houses a year, small handful. Basically it was like, you know, a fatherly advice. He's like, well, what are you going to do? And I'm like, I don't know. And he's like, we got to get a job. I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm not going to get a job. And then he's like, well, you know, what the heck? So we partnered up, and basically he was the brains of the operation, and I was the grunt for a while, which worked out really well. I learned a ton of stuff, you know, from like the actual construction standpoint of it, and then obviously the business part of it. And
Was this was post 08?
Yeah. So this would have been probably like 15.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So, and then things were awesome from 15 to like 20. You know, the real estate market's freaking booming and life is good. And then COVID happened, and then it's like, well, what are we going to do now?
Absolute bonkers.
Yeah. So for us, you know, we were buying houses and selling them, and it was great. And then all of a sudden COVID happens. Everybody wants to start flipping houses, and house prices like double. There was a ton of competition, and we had a lot of people just that I know. They're like, hey, you know, I know you guys do this. Why don't you come do my bathroom? I'm like, no, not going to happen. You know, well, why don't you come do my basement? It's like, no, I can't help you. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, maybe I should call some of these people and say, hey, you know, maybe we will do your bathroom. And then just took off from there.
Well, did you have any struggle working with your dad?
No, none. Yeah.
Tends to be we normally get the reverse.
The opposite. Yeah. So luckily we are really close. Me and my dad are really close. I have 2 siblings, you know, all of us, my mom, the 5 of us. It's like, you know, we don't do it so much anymore because the kids are so busy. But like every Sunday we have dinner, right? Like a standing invitation Sunday at noon or 1 o'clock. We're eating at my parents' house, so we've done that forever. So we get along really well, and
So I've always got along with my dad. We've always been very close, but it was just I think we're so similar.
Yeah.
That when we worked together, we butted heads so much.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That we're both very, I don't know, kind of
Stubborn.
Stubborn would be a good word.
Yeah.
But it was, sometimes I feel very strongly about the way I want to do something. My dad's always been that way.
Yeah.
And it's like, led him to a lot of success in business and what he does. And it's, so he and I butted heads a lot working together.
That makes sense.
Which is probably the only time, probably our whole lives, the only time that our relationship was ever not great.
Yeah.
Was the 3 years I was full-time at the dealership.
Yeah. I think my dad was like, because he's not really retired, but he's also not like, he has zero desire to like grow a business right now. Yeah. Right. You know, I mean, he's just, I don't know, he's just ready to relax a little bit. You know what I mean? So he was much more, hey, you know, if you want to do this, then, you know, have at it. Right?
Which I think if we would caught our dad and the whole thing would have happened and he was maybe 5 years older, I think we probably would have been at a similar spot. Because right now, I mean, he's turned 60 in March, and now he's at the spot where he's like, I'm happy. He goes, I get relaxed. He goes, I get work from home. He's like, certain days a week, and he's not killing himself anymore. He's like, I make good money. He's like, and I think that just grind and that what he's put in his whole life is just like kind of led him to the spot that he's at now. And it's just, I think when we were coming out of college, we were all just like gung ho for everything.
Yeah.
And I think if we worked with him 15 years before that, I don't think any of us would talk.
That's probably true. Yeah. Because he was me at a younger age in the way that he did things, which I've learned a lot from the do's and the don'ts that he did.
There's also a lot of, like, life was just different.
Yeah.
05.
Yeah.
Like, he was a boss and a leader, but it's like the people working for him made a lot of money.
Yeah.
And it's like he would sit there and he was doing a home loans. He would like fling files down the hallway, screaming at people getting out of his office.
Totally
but it's
different.
like, I'm like, these people are making 150, 200 grand. I'm like, you can scream at them. You yell at someone that makes like not anywhere close to that. I'm like, that doesn't end well.
Yeah.
That's a lawsuit.
We're at the dealership, and these guys that he would have in the mortgage world, that he'd just rip a new one. I'm like, these dudes are making 100 grand a month.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and then he's in the car business and he rips into a detail guy or a porter, and the guy just leaves.
Yeah. He's like,
what the fuck's wrong with these people? I'm like, they could make the same working at fucking Burger King.
Yeah,
I was like, they just gonna pick up the next job down the street. I go, it's not the same person. It's not the same mindset.
Yeah.
It was just, he came from a world that he just lived in a room with all A players, and then went to a business model that had a totem pole from the top to the bottom.
Yeah.
Which is something I've even as a business owner, I've had to work on, where it's like the A player is like the person I sit there and it's like, I can push somebody and they can push me, and it's like back and forth thing. The person that you push and they just shut down and they just leave. Yeah. It's like the second things get hard in life, it's the people that have that fight or flight mode.
Yeah.
There's some people that their mode is on flight all the time.
There is no fight.
There's no fight in anything. And it's just, you have to recognize those people and let those people be that.
Yeah. Well, I think like, especially in the construction type industry, you know, it's, I think my dad was probably super grateful to have somebody that he trusts.
Yeah.
Whether I did the right thing or not, at least I think he knew that I had our best interest, right?
Yep.
You know, and then the same thing with him. I mean, it was his business, right? So he's coming up with all the money. They're his houses, you know? So I was kind of from a grateful standpoint of, hey, you know, I don't have to.
How old were you when you started working with him?
30.
That probably, I think if I would maybe been
28 or 29.
If maybe I would have been a little bit further on too. I don't think I was definitely no poster employee. By
18 to 18, 24, 25. Yeah.
Yeah. I
This
knew
was-
a lot more than I did.
Sure.
And
This
it
was Dane's world. We were all living in it.
There you go.
Not that far, but I was,
Yeah, pretty close.
I don't know, I had a lot of opinions, and
Yeah.
it was at that time I could identify problems. And I think in starting this, I became much more understanding that I'm very clear on everyone on our leadership side, the company, that like, if you have a problem, great.
Yeah.
Like identifying problems is pretty easy, actually.
Yeah.
Coming up with the solutions is the hard part.
Totally different story.
So it's like, I want the solutions to problems.
Yeah.
If you want to come to my office and tell me a fucking problem, I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
Like people all the time, they're like, yeah, this, and this. I'm like, yeah, no, you don't think I know that we're behind on editing? You don't think I fucking knew that?
Yeah.
Like, great. Thank you. Thank you
Thanks for letting me know.
thanks for telling me again. And it's, do you have a solution to this? Like, it was just like all the time, like the identifying of problems. And I think sometimes people in their head is they're processing that if they see the problem, they think they're helping, which I know they're coming from the right position, but it's like we've been working as a company to kind of structure that thought process, that come up with that. Think about it. Think about how in your position or in the position of your department that problem can be fixed.
Is it
How does that make that more effective?
Is it a 1-3-1 rule?
1-3-1 problem solving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Figure out the problem, 3 solutions, and then figure out which solution you think is the best.
Yeah. So it's, Corey, that CP excavating,
Yeah.
it was funny. It was like probably a year and a half ago, like when he first came on the podcast, and he and I became pretty good friends and drink beers and stuff. And he's like, dude, how do you do it with this many people?
Yeah.
Like at this point, I feel like every day I had like 4 people come to me.
Yeah.
This problem,
Problems.
this problem, this problem. He's like, I just told everybody, like, you're not allowed to come to me unless you have a solution.
Yeah.
I was like, that's a simple ass answer. That was that simple. I was just like,
Yeah.
and next day I started implementing that, and it's crazy how much you build a culture around it.
Yeah.
More of a problem solving culture.
Yeah.
Because I feel in your industry too, like,
Well, that's one thing that's really helped us grow is like I have a guy that, go back to trust, that I really trust. He knows his stuff. And so he can like filter all that stuff, right? Like he has a solution most of the time, right? And if it's a really big problem, then, hey, he'll let me know. But if it's, if one of the other guys comes to him and is like, hey, we got this problem, what are we going to do? He just takes care of it, right? Or tells me, hey, we got this problem and here's what we need to do. And I say, yay or nay. And that's, as opposed to I'm getting 1 out of 10 of those instead of 10 out of 10 like I was before.
That's I've changed it sort of pretty much the whole company. Nobody in the company, the problems don't come to me. They have to go to our leadership team. The leadership team brings those to me on Wednesday if it's something that can't be solved.
Right.
And I also, if it is something that is solved, I still want it brought up just to know, like, okay, why was that the solution that we came up with?
Yeah. And
walk them through their problem solving steps. And it's a lot of times that's where I get the opportunity to develop those people more. Did you think about this, and this when you were making that choice?
Yeah.
And sometimes just opening up a few different doors, shedding a little bit different light on it, that they're thinking from a business financial position too, even when they're making those, that a lot of times I think in the early days of problem solving, everyone thinks it's solved with throwing more money. Yeah. And sometimes it's efficiencies. It's the process is wrong.
Yeah.
And it's even harder for someone to say the process is broken. This was a process I came up with. Yeah. So I think early days at MMG, if I put something in place and it didn't work, I didn't want to admit that it was like, that wasn't right.
Yeah. Let's just do this better. Right?
So it was like, now it's like the second I see something's off, I'm like, yeah, guys, I fucked that up royally. Yeah. Let's ditch it. Let's come up with something better. But it's, I don't know, just getting to that spot that it's not you don't have the egos in the room anymore. Right. It's just everyone is in a common direction where they're going.
Yeah.
What would you say? So when did are you still working with your dad or on flipping at all?
No, I mean, we do like 1 or 2 a year.
Yeah.
So not like we were at all.
So what the branch out look like into being on your own?
I mean, it really did look like, what are we going to do? Or what am I going to do? Right.
Yeah.
I mean, we were, I think at our height, we were doing like 2 a month. And then all of a sudden it's like, we always had, if you're selling that many houses a month, you have to have like a handful of them like on the shelf or ready to go, right?
Yeah.
You can't do one and sell it and then try to find the next one. So when the shelf started getting a little bare, it's like, well, shit, what are we going to do? So it just turned into, I actually had somebody that's like a family friend that had a master bathroom that was a decent sized job that they wanted done. And so I'm like, hey, I'm going to do this. Right. And my dad, he was not like, no, we're going to figure this out. He was like, yeah, go.
He's like, this is my time to kick back.
Yeah.
I can relax more.
Exactly. Yeah. Go. He's like, go ahead. You should do it, and then it just, kind of snowballed from there. So
Yeah.
I think if the housing market hadn't changed and COVID hadn't happened and we would have kept doing things the way we were, I think like life would have been great. The seminar thing and the phone thing, time passed, right?
Yeah.
It was good while it was there. And then it's like, that's over. But if the flipping thing would have kept going, I could have kept working with my dad and he was in, that would have been great. And this is great too. So I'm not, kind of had a win-win.
Yeah, and I think also in your industry line, I always look at different industries, the opportunity for winning.
Sure.
And it was something like when we got into marketing, the marketing space is fucking weak. Yeah. Like it's just weak players in it. And I feel a lot of the blue collar space, the construction world, things like that, the guys that show up and do what they say they're going to do are the guys that win. Have great product, great service, and show up and do what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Like we had a debt company and we worked with them for quite a while. They ended up closing like a multi-million-dollar job out in Leavenworth doing like every single military house.
Oh yeah.
And they're doing that for like the next 2 years.
Yeah.
But when they came into the office, I was like, the only way I'm giving you a bid is if you come bid out doing my deck.
Yeah.
Like I've called 6 debt companies. I can't get somebody to show up.
Yeah. So I hear that all the time.
And it's wild. I'm like, and then I'll run into these same people and like, man, I wish I need more work. I need more work and stuff like that. And I'm like, I hear from the industry line that people just don't show up for bids. Like these guys literally showed up. And I was like, if you show up, I was like, I'll be able to get you as many jobs as you want. Yeah. I was like, I had one guy that came out, said he was going to send me a bid the next day. 4 weeks later, I messaged him like, hey, bid ? Yeah. I told these guys, I'm like, I don't want it cheap. I want it done right.
Yeah.
I was wanting the whole deck Trex. I wanted the aluminum railing put on it, the whole 9. It's already screened in. Like I just wanted it done right. And all these people just wouldn't show up.
Yeah. So I get that all the time. People call. They're like, hey, I've called, 5 people. No one will return my phone call. Or I'll go look at somebody's and they're like, I had 2 other people out here and I haven't heard back from them. And then the other side of that is like when we are doing jobs, I can't, like the amount of people that are like just happy that someone came, and then the compliments that I get of, hey, your guys showed up on time, they're here every day, they clean up their mess, they look presentable, they're pleasure to work with as far as just, like you can call it customer service or just being a good person, they show up when they're supposed to be there, they're pleasant, they don't leave a big mess, they're not blaring the radio and cussing up a storm the whole time they're there, so I think that goes a long way.
I think
it goes a really long way.
Surprisingly, it does.
Surprisingly,
it's like, I think it's crazy how many different industry lines people think that there's like some magic recipe book out there that's going to tell them how to do it all. I'm like, show up, do good work, do what you say you're going to do.
Yeah.
Communication.
Yeah.
Like we've had our hiccups in the communication side as we've scaled, and something that we had breaks in the process. We had to, for the longest time, I was like, I'm going to be that guy. And when we scaled to a certain amount of accounts, I was like, if I worked all day, every day, I still couldn't be the communication guy now. Like there's too much in the works. And it's like, I was actually doing a disservice to clients where I'm like, I'm driving home every day and I'm like, who do I need to call? I was like, I missed something. I was like, and I was putting stuff in notes every day, and it just became a full-time job. I'm relaying back to the team, and I'd have a 30-minute phone call. Then I have a 30-minute phone call right before that. Then I'm going to the team about the first 30-minute phone call. I end up missing 1 or 2 things. And then they're like, hey, dude, like they asked about this, this, and this. I'm like, yeah, we totally talked about that. We did agree to that. I totally forgot to tell you guys that. It was my fault. But just becoming better at the communication side, not missing those marks. And it's growing pains that we.
It's like even those channels we've put in. I had one of our account managers came in today. They're like, "Hey, client asked about X, Y, and Z." I was like, "I'll call them. I'll see what's going on." Call them, and they're like, "Oh yeah, they handled everything." I'm like, "All right, just want to call, make sure everything's good." I talked about a wedding we both went to like 6 months ago, and we're just sitting there chit chatting. And I'm like, "You got my cell." I'm like, "If you need anything, feel free to give me a holler." I'm like, "I probably won't be able to answer your questions like your account managers or Logan and Dalton, but." I'm like, my phone number's here if you guys ever have any questions. He's like, "Man, I really appreciate that." But it's just, we give almost everyone multiple lines of communication where it's like, even some accounts we have like email threads with all of us in it. Where it's like, if you have a question and it needs to be answered promptly, I'm like, shoot it in there. It goes to 8 people.
Yeah, somebody will get
I'm like, it will get handled.
Well, I can't, I try to, hey, we're going to do our estimates in this amount of time, and then we're going to send them out this way so they look cool, right? And then we're gonna, like I've been working on trying to do more like designing, so people have like a visual when you send it. And then so we're doing all this stuff, or I'm doing all this stuff trying to figure out how to, be better. And then I get people that are like, "Hey, we really decided to go with you just because when I text you, you text me back." It's like, oh, good, which is good, but it's like, man, we're doing all that extra stuff helps too, but it's like kind of all boils down to the same thing.
I think it's funny sometimes that in so many different business lines, we overcomplicate what hospitality looks like, and hospitality wins the game.
Yeah.
So if you go to a restaurant and they have decent food, but they have great service, and the people make you feel amazing in there, most of the time people go back to those spots.
Yeah. There's a place at the Plaza I'll never go again because I saw the waitress 3 times, and I was there for 2.5 hours.
Yeah. But there's other places that you go somewhere they have the best food out there, but absolutely terrible service.
Yeah.
And when people leave, they talk about the service.
Yeah.
And it's, when you think about that concept in every line of business, you have to partner all of it together. And that's where I think your industry line, there's such a huge space for winning and such a huge opportunity point that I think every one of our clients, like in the blue collar space, that's one of our big vetting things, because we got other people like, we have a bunch of people reach out, we go to their house, they're not serious buyers. I'm like, no, you're half-assing your job.
Yeah, you're just not ready. Yeah.
So it's,
or I'm like, or are you just super expensive? Are you like 10 grand and they were like 3? Where we at?
Yeah.
Like, let's figure out why they didn't sign with you.
But there's also space for premium service and premium product that I will pay more for a better service and communication all day, every day. I prefer to.
Yeah. Well, and I think like in what I do, or in the construction world, right? Like everybody wants to say how awesome their work is, right? And whether it is or it isn't, I mean, there's a lot of people that do good work.
Yeah.
Right. But that should be like an expectation, or that should speak for itself, right? Your customer service, or taking care of people, or like hospitality, that's a good word. I mean, that's where, everybody wants good work. You're not going to sell somebody because, hey, we do really good work. Well, they wouldn't have called you if they wanted. Everybody wants good work, right? What else do you got?
Yeah, and I was meeting with a guy, big builder, yesterday, and we're going over stuff. He was talking about the amount of people that get referred to him because they'll sell a house, and 5-10 years later they'll have a problem, and they go in and they'll fix whatever it is, and it's like, he goes, a lot of times, he goes, we might not even charge them, or he goes, we'll charge them at like our base cost of what it costs to send out painters and a sheetrock guy to fix something, and which can be super low. These guys are on call all day, every day,
right,
their work. And he's like, and most of the time, he goes, we'll get a multi-million-dollar job off of doing that, because so many people are so focused on trying to knock somebody over the head again.
Yeah.
And it's just like, or knock somebody over the head every single time that they see him or something. And it's like, how about you just be fair out the gate, and then it's take care of the person afterwards, keep taking care of the person, and they'll send you referrals.
Yeah.
But it's like, most people never get to the spot to deserve a referral.
Yeah.
And it's like, when you do those things, and like after the job, I don't run your business, but I know if something happened after a job, you're going back out there and you're fixing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're going to make it right.
Yeah.
If there isn't something that isn't up to par.
Yeah. I mean, you know this, that my name is on everything, right? So if I touch it, it's got my name on it.
Yeah.
So, that kind of comes back to, if you call me, a year later and there's a crack in the, in your basement above your door frame because there was some settling or something and it cracked. It's like, well, I'm going to come out and take care of it because it's got my name on it. Right or wrong.
Yeah. We put our name on the front of our deal, and a lot of people have asked me why I did that.
Yeah.
And I was like, I feel there's value in it.
Yeah.
But it also is something that we've always stood for, our name being held to a high standard in everything that we do and from all of business. And it's in the car world, it was hard because the car world, people don't even give you the chance.
Yeah.
I would run into somebody at Orchlands or something and be pissed off. I remember running into a guy, see he has a TDR sticker on his truck.
Yeah.
It's like, hey man, how you liking your truck? He's like, I'm fucking pissed with this thing, blah, blah. I'm like, why? We're like in the middle of Orchlands. And he's like, a week and a half after I got, or a week after I got, battery shot shit.
Yeah.
I was like, okay. I was like, did you call us? Because I'm like, if my service manager didn't make it to my desk, I'm like, we got a problem.
Yeah.
No, I didn't call you guys. I go, sir, I go, how are we going to help you if we don't even know about it?
Right.
I go, make that make sense to me.
Yeah.
The guy's like, it's a used car. What the fuck would you guys have done?
Yeah.
I go, a week after you bought the car and the battery shot shit, I go, I would have put a new battery in it. Wouldn't charge you a dime. And he's like, for real? And it was like,
will you reimburse me?
Oh, he was like, holding me. I literally ended up, the guy came up and followed me from Orchlands up to the dealership. I reimbursed him for his battery at O'Reilly's.
Yeah.
Because I told him, I was like, every car deal I want right. I was like, what we do, we do business a certain way.
Yeah.
But the guy's like, I didn't think a dealer would help me out.
Yeah.
I go, in the future, all I ask is give us a shot to help.
Yeah.
There were some things we had to say no to. There were some things that people are.
Something you give them a battery, they're like, all right, now that I got the battery.
Yeah, these tires are kind of worn too.
Hey, we wrecked the car. Can you refund us?
That has happened.
That had happened. We had one guy drifted a car. This Charger drifts it into a curb and breaks both the wheels on the passenger side and brings it in. He goes, it was like this when I got it.
Yeah, these are faulty.
I go, no, it fucking wasn't. I was like, and he comes driving in and like, oh.
We had that, a diesel blow. The guy was running through mud runs.
Oh.
No, the dude came in, all of his electrical was shot in his truck, and they pulled into service, and I don't know how he cleaned it up and made it as clean as it was for it couldn't be. Service didn't notice it. They're like, yeah, I think the ECM's out.
Yeah.
All this stuff. And so I'm sitting at my desk, and the guy's like, I'm going to be up there tomorrow. He's like, I'm pissed, whole nine.
Yeah.
This dude literally has on Facebook him burying this whole truck.
Oh, yeah. Evidence.
On Facebook, I'm like, you realize we all have social media.
He sits down, I just turn my computer sideways, and I click play. And his whole demeanor went like, and I was like, what does, you think this had anything to do with it? And he's like, man, like it just starts word vomiting the whole nine. And it's, everyone tried to get over on us on everything that we did. It was just like, that was the thing I struggled so much with the car world was no matter how good we did and what we did, people were like, well, you guys are just used car dealers.
Yeah. Stigma.
So it was doing business right. Putting your name on something and having value behind your name is, I think there's value in that. And I think a lot of people are scared to do it in today's time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I just told you about my story of my late night phone call, right? And my wife had the same thing. She's like, dude, our name's on this, it's like, there's some crazy people out there. And it's like, well, there is. I don't know what to say. I think the good outweighs the bad for sure, though.
It is. You do watch the amount of crazy people, and like we've started experiencing it from a crazy level.
Yeah.
Like we go places, like everyone, like we go places, and we'll have 50 people come up and they know who we are.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's such a movement that it does freak me out a little bit sometimes.
Yeah. It gets a little freaky.
Especially when you go somewhere, people are like, and like,
I was
at restaurants
on Thanksgiving. I was filling up Maddie's car. We're heading down to my folks on Thanksgiving. And the guy at the next gas pump over is like, hey, you're Logan with MMG, aren't you? I was like, oh,
No,
God.
Why?
Yeah. He's like,
that all depends.
oh, you guys need to go review this taco place in Grandview. I'm like, oh, thank God.
But yeah, it was. I was at PBR 2 weeks ago, and I had people coming up to the stage all night wanting to take pictures with me.
Yeah.
I was like, this is fucking weird.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't play any sport around here. But no, just having like that kind of stuff happen, and there's a lot of good that comes with it, but then the bad that comes with it. I mean, I've had people we went to high school with that have got my phone number and text me like all through the night and stuff, like just the most off the wall shit.
They may have been in a padded room for a little bit, but beside the point.
That dude needs to live in a padded room for the rest of his life.
Yeah,
but I've had to block numbers and stuff, and it's like I've had girls reaching out that were like just so far off the wall stuff that I'm just like block.
Yeah. But I'm with you. I mean, I think the good outweighs the bad, and
For sure.
like I said, you kind of you got to live up to that, right?
It is, but you know what is funny is as it's like progressed. I used to always think like when I saw the celebrities like flip shit on the paparazzis and stuff, I'm like, they really having that bad a day. And then I watch it now. Sometimes I'm like, that kind of makes sense. Yeah. I'm like, nowhere close to what those people are dealing with, but that would get fucking annoying, like really fast. And Matt's and I've even started going to eat dinner down south quite a bit. Like, if sometimes I just want to go have dinner and not have like people come up. There's a lot of people around here that we know. It's a great thing. It's just networking and doing that all the time. But there's also a time that I just want to sit at dinner and just talk with my wife and not anybody else.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you should cook more.
Yeah,
you can do that right here in your kitchen, bro.
Yeah, my wife cooks. She kills it. So, but what would you say when you first started out on your own? What was the hardest thing that you had to overcome when doing that?
I mean, from like an actual work standpoint, is probably just finding the right people to, there's like the vicious circle in the, the house flipping world or the construction world, right? Like if I'm a one-man show and I'm going to do your bathroom, well, that's great, right? And I do your bathroom and all is good. But then when I get done, I got to go find the next one, right? Which is a problem because if it takes me 2 weeks to do your bathroom and then it takes me 2 weeks to find him, then, now we got like,
took you a month to do
life
that
is good and not good, So the biggest thing for me was finding, the right people so that I can do some of this other stuff. I can go get the next one lined up. And then the other thing is, like we talked about, my name being on it. It's like, okay, well, now I found this group of people. Do I trust them to leave them here? Yeah. And then do the right thing? And then if we're doing your bathroom, like, are they going to do the shower valve right? So it's not, I don't get a phone call 2 weeks from now, and, you're like, hey, my bathroom's in my basement, So that's kind of,
I got an extra bathroom. You're welcome.
So that's been the biggest thing, is just not even finding people, but finding the people that you can trust and, really kind of let loose a little bit. Say, hey, I trust you guys enough.
How long? I feel like you've came into the swing of that pretty quick.
Yeah. I mean, we're still pretty small, and I have one guy. So I had a couple guys that worked for me for a really long time relative to how long we've been around.
Yeah.
And then I found another guy that kind of runs the show now, as far as the like construction job site show. And that's been and everybody that I found's like a friend or acquaintance or somebody knows something, I mean, I think, those are the people you can trust for the most part, right? So it's good to find those type of people.
That was something that I did struggle with for quite a while, was like trusting the people around me.
Yeah.
But then also giving them the reins to go fall down.
Yeah.
And learn on their own. That was something that I kind of this year was taking that ground, that I knew we were going to do something that we were going to lose accounts.
Yeah.
But it's also, I know a lot of times when you have some hard-headed A players that are around you, they have to see it happen for themselves.
Yeah.
And it's like, but I also knew that if I led them to what that solution was to it, that they would be receptive of it.
Yeah.
If they fell.
Yeah.
But it was when I was kind of running that front side, like guarding everything and not letting the leadership team behind me take on the fight that they needed to. And now I've kind of stepped back where it's like they get to take on that fight. And I'm like, even there's times that they come in with a solution that I'm like, not what I would do, but I'm going to let them go for it. And then it's like, we'll see how it pans out. I'm like, and then there's multiple times it's panned out really well. And then there's times that it hasn't. And then I'm like, why do you think that went that way? And you can use it as a training position too. But it's also, when I'm looking at the scale of where we're trying to go, I need big hitters standing around me that can stand on their own 2 feet.
Yeah.
Because we have 30 plus people now, if I have to babysit everyone, there's no way. I would drive myself absolutely insane.
Yeah. And get nothing done.
Yeah. And I figured out my most valuable spot in the business now is how to develop the people around me more.
Yeah.
To be able to then develop the people around them more.
Yeah.
That was our leadership meeting this morning, was how do we develop people further down more to move them forward, because they're going to have to be able to develop people under them in the next 6 to 12 months. Yeah. So,
well, I think, from our, I don't want to say the construction part's easy, but that part's kind of got that down. Right. Yeah. And I didn't, not that school's the answer, but I didn't go to school. And the business that I was involved in before, I sold, but I didn't have anything to do with anything after that, right? They say yes and pay their money. That was the end of my process. So just trying to figure out, okay, well, now we have people now we have a steady flow of, bathrooms or basements or whatever. From in the very beginning, it's like I hired these guys and it's like, okay, how do I do payroll? I could get out my checkbook and you work 40 hours and I write you a check, but how do I actually do payroll? And then the next thing is how do I keep track of all this, from a accounting standpoint? So you got to figure that out. And then, you get a couple more people and it's like, okay, well, how do we keep track of who's going where? And then, so it's just a constant, I guess I feel like I'm learning at every step. Right. Yeah. And I'm really learning as in not only learning how to do it, but I don't even really know what the next step is for sure yet.
So that's where this year going into 25, I'm taking on 5 consulting accounts, but it's more so in that forefront that there was at 2.5 years, I'm sitting there, I'm like, I know we're going forward, but I don't know what to be working. Yeah. And now where we're at,
also at that point, Dane's handwriting all the checks. And then I'm like, you can buy checks online. Yeah. This paper you buy. And then it's like, they're like, yeah, you can print checks out. I'm like, bro, we don't even need to handwrite the checks. We can print them all out. And then that was a growing pain we went through about 2 years in. And then 2-ish years.
You look at all those things that he runs the accounting side.
Yeah.
Where it's these consulting accounts that we're going to take on. It's going to be like, okay, where are we at accounting wise? When we look at accounting, you need to be doing X, Y, and Z to get to the next step.
Yeah.
Implement that. Here's the payroll service you need. Here's what you need. This is how the check should be getting done. This is when payroll should be going in. This is how it should be. That should be something what does the invoicing look like to clients? How does that pay structure look like coming in? Yeah. Where it's that's a whole facet of it. Then you get into the operations side. How are you tracking equipment? How are you tracking your people? How are you tracking all these different things? Because you have to build the foundational blocks to be able to scale. Yeah. And a lot of people run at scale. And what I was doing is I was running into the wall. We would scale up, we'd go down. We'd scale up, we'd go down. But we didn't have the processes and the foundation to move it. Where then it's what does sales look like? What does marketing look like to acquire new work? How do you keep that funnel full all the time? How are you cultivating that funnel for the next 6 months? What does that whole system look like as a business? And that's where I have seeked out so much mentorship above me from huge companies.
Yeah.
And it's I've been giving value to these people as almost like a free marketing consultant to then get knowledge back from them.
Yeah.
And now it's now I feel that we became very well-rounded for scale. Yeah. And now it's I want to take 5 business owners that I help them with all those different things. Where I don't know where I'm going here. I don't know where I'm going here. It's looking at it saying, hey, I have the lens. I can see it 5 steps ahead. Yeah. Because I have went through it, even though industry lines can be different. Yeah. Operations is similar. The things that you're focusing on a scale are similar. The accounting it can be similar. The way that you do invoicing can be similar. There's variations of it being different, but the understanding of it's the same. Yeah. marketing, like we got that part dialed in. Like we have a COO, we have a CFO, and it's going to be like, I'll be able to inject those people into those different facets of a business to take somebody that it may take them 4 years to get to the next step. We can amplify it and do it in one.
Yeah.
There's a value point there.
The more beans being put on the table, if the beans start falling off the table, how do you keep the beans on the table?
Yeah. But it's to be able to acquire a lot more, like operations is crucial.
Yeah. Well, we could, now or even, 2 years ago, like we could have taken me and 2 guys and the 3 of us could have been absolutely fine. We could have done a bathroom at a time, and while they were working, I could have helped them. And then, a couple days a week, I can line up the next one. So we're always busy and life would have been fine. Right. But, that's not fine's not good enough. Right. So, that was my experience with you guys when we first started. It's like, okay, I got, we can do bathrooms. I had 100% faith in that. So we need more bathrooms. And then it's like, oh shit, I'm not ready for this.
Like we got a lot of bathrooms.
Yeah. Now I have all these people who want me to do their bathrooms, and I have I can't even keep track of the people that are coming in, let alone get to the point where we're actually doing the work. Right? We're dropping the ball before we even get to that point. So that's been the biggest struggle, is figuring everything out almost from scratch, but then not even knowing, like, okay, I got to figure this out. But like you're talking about, when I do your basement, I can think about when we're framing it, I'm thinking about, hey, like 5 steps from now, if we don't do this way, we're going to be totally screwed. We're going to have to go backwards. Right. Well, with the business, I was, hey, we need to figure out this. And then we would figure it out. And then we need to figure out this. But I had no clue what 3 or 4 steps down the road.
But
no idea.
There's a lot of businesses that they never figure out what acquisition of work looks like. They never figure out what acquisition of employment looks like. Yeah. Once you start figuring out those 2 verticals, then you have to build out the foundational blocks to support the business. And then you can start moving the business forward. But we can take on mass amounts of work now because we figured out acquisition of employment at scale. We have 40 people a month that reach out that want to work for us. Yeah. To where it's like, we're taking interviews, we take as many interviews a week as we do client like sales. Yeah. Like they run hand in hand. Yeah. But it's also when an employee started a year and a half ago, they just like kind of started, they're like, what do we do today? We're like, you're going to sit with Dalton or Logan. Yeah. And then it's like,
him around for a little while.
It was like they just had a shadow behind them. They had so much work on their plate. They're like, I'm not wasting.
I actually need to get something done. Just go do something on your computer. Look busy.
So it was like just no systems in place. And now it's like we have what day one looks like, who they're meeting with, what they're going over, the touch points that they need to have, what's 30 days look like, what's 60 days look like, what's 90. Yeah. Here's the points that we need to hit. This is what full speed operation looks like. But you get into like in your industry line, there should be checklists on every single property. Is like, okay, what equipment needs to be there? It's documented what equipment comes into every site. Like, okay, once we're on that site, like what does the time frame that we're chasing look like? So this is what the time frame looks like. So we know that reverse engineering, we have to be doing X, Y, and Z the whole time. You need those checkpoints where you can then look at 10 job sites that are being done. You say, we're right on track all the way across here, and this can be something that's on your desktop. You're like, I know I'm right where I need to be here. I know these are things that we're behind on. If something goes into yellow or red, we're behind. Why are we behind? That's where your time should be allocated. Is now this is off. You're going that direction, saying, okay, how did we end off? Yeah. Like what led us here? Yeah. Where you're putting out bigger fires in those directions, but then you could have 5 to 8 job sites that guy that you trust a lot that's right. Below you that ends up being a quality control guy that's like, okay, we're getting the job sites. We know guys out there that need work. You end up holding the golden ticket is you have the work, you have the process, you know how to plug people in. Then the employment side comes like you are the leader because you have all the work. Yeah. Yeah. It's like that's what everyone else is chasing. Yeah. And it's like if us in like the content world, we hold a big stance because we have the most content. So when content guys are out there, they always try to go freelance it. They always fall on their face. And then they're coming after they leave, we won't hire them back. Yeah. But it's like we've had multiples reach back out like, hey, can I edit for you on the side? Like I can't make my rent. Something. Like, but it's the power that we have is we have all the work.
Yeah.
We know how to do the business side. We know how to acquire all the work. We know how to do all these different pieces of it.
Yeah.
Where it's like, that's the power that you hold in that equation. Yeah. And that's the piece at the very, very top.
Yeah.
So that's what.
I feel like that point when you said there's 2 or 3 of you and you're like, we could do just fine.
Yeah.
Dane and I sat in a bedroom upstairs. We had, I think, 5 dealerships.
We were that was the most profitable we've ever
Yeah.
been.
It was actually very profitable at that
Yeah.
point. He's like, we could just do this, live very comfortable.
Yeah.
And this is it.
Yeah.
Then I'm like, I mean, at this point, we're working 3 days a week.
Yeah, we were in the early days. We were kind of doing that. We're like, dude,
Yeah.
pretty
Life
solid.
is good.
And
We're
then
like, okay. And then
after like a month or two, I was like, what if we took like 1 or 2 more stores on?
Yeah.
I was like, I know the guys we can text, we can pick them up. And I've been talking to Dalton. We've been golfing a lot more. And Dalton was doing medical sales and had to leave we were at Smithville, leaves on hole 7 because he has to go deliver oxygen tank on a Saturday.
Yeah.
I was like, I was roommates with Dalton and been good friends with him all through college. And I was like, I don't want one of my friends going through that. So I was like, Dre, we could pick up 2 more stores. We can bring Dalton over. He can sit in the room with us. It'd be 3 of us. So then it was like, then we were there. And then Logan was in here drinking. He's like, bro, next MMG person is me. And he's in there like through and through. I'm like, so then Dre and I are talking like, well, we could pick up like 2 or 3 more stores and we could bring Logan on. I was like, and then,
Yeah.
I was like,
then we all just hang out all day.
Yeah.
so then I was like, but if we do that, we need to move to the basement. So we moved down to the basement, and there's 4 of us. And it was just like, every time somebody was like, starts talking our way, then we meet Ricky and Lauren at the gym. And I was like, dude, they're solid. I was like,
More.
They were the
could get-
first people that came on, and Dane, or I think when they started, they're like, what do we do? Dane's like, I have no idea.
yeah, so we pulled the trigger out. So each person had figured out the work before they showed up. And Ricky and Lauren come in. I was like, so we don't actually like have enough work for you guys. Like, we're not even that busy right now ourselves. But it's like,
Yeah.
But we could pick up some more accounts, and then we could work 5 days a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, it was,
I remember the very first bathroom. Like I said, they were some family friends, and they wanted to kind of rearrange their bathroom and get rid of a bathtub and put a big walk-in shower where the bathtub was. And so, all is good, right? But all we had ever done, or all that I had ever done, was our own stuff. Like, we owned all the houses, right? So I knew how to do the bathroom. So they call me, I go look at it. Hey, I can figure, we can do this, no problem. I have no idea how much to charge someone to do a bathroom. Like, no clue. I've never had anyone come bid me for a bathroom. You could have told me to have somebody do your bathroom was $2,500 or $25,000. I'd have been like, well, okay. So it's like,
I get it.
yeah. So I'm like, I remember sitting at the computer, like just thinking, how do I come up? What do I do? Right? Like, this is how much the materials are going to cost. What am I going to charge them? Like, how much am I going to make? How much do I want to make? Like, no idea.
Hidden backpack. What was your last bid?
Yeah. Yeah. So we did a couple, and then my brother is a engineer, and he works for like they do like refrigerating components and stuff, like Walmart's, like the big freezer cases and open air cases and stuff. And I remember talking to him one day, and he's like, yeah, we bill our guys. He gave me basically their model for what they charge per guy per job site, right? And I'm like, that is freaking genius. Like, so then I go back home and I'm like figuring up. I'm like, yeah, I felt so good. I'm like, yes, I got like a reason behind what I'm doing all of a sudden, right? Like an explanation. I'm not just throwing out random numbers. So, just stuff like that.
so
Just learn little stuff.
you figured out a reason. When I came in, dealers reached out, and I was like, we've just been so accustomed on the other side of the table spending so much.
Yeah.
And we were spending like $30,000 a month at like a store that wasn't even that big.
Yeah.
So like first dealerships reach out, I'm like, how's $15,000 a month sound? Like, yeah, when can you start? I was like, oh man. And I get like 4 in a row. I call Drew, I'm like, bro, get this. I'm like, I've closed out $60,000 of work in a month. I'm like, you want to come do this? And he's like, yeah, I'm in.
Yeah.
And I was like, but everyone's like, where'd you come up with that number? I was like, well, it's cheaper than what we were paying. So I thought they for sure would say yes.
Yeah.
So I was like, and what we were doing is better than what they were getting.
Yeah.
They said
Well,
yes
it's-
immediately and wanted to start today. It was wild.
Yeah.
So-
Weird.
Well, it's like Alex Hormozzi's story when he started selling just like the concept instead of flying out to do the full like gym,
Yeah.
turnovers. It's like, well, I told the first guy 6,000. He said yes. So I told the next guy 8,000. Well, he said yes. So I
Yeah.
told the next guy 10,000. And it just kept going up and they kept saying yes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And I think in the beginning, I didn't realize I'd always thought of marketing. I thought of everything business wise on a personal level.
Yeah.
And when you get to the point where you disconnect those two, you don't run your business as a personal. And that's a lot of what I want to do in consulting also is there's a lot of these businesses are like, they're teeter-tottering on the point of being something a lot bigger.
Yeah.
But the way that they run, it's figuring it on a personal level. Like
Sure.
my personal life, I spend more in the business buying laptops every month than I do on my whole entire personal life.
Yeah.
On laptops alone. Like if you just take what we spend at the Apple store, I spend more on that one thing than I do on my whole entire personal life on the side.
Yeah.
But it's just like businesses became it's a spreadsheet, it's numbers, like
Yeah.
it's something that it's the cost of doing business. Like it just spins. And it's like, but that's what drives growth. And it's like on a personal level, I'll put a pair of Hey Dudes in my Amazon cart. I'm like, do I really need them? Oh, like $60.
Yeah.
I'll take them out. Like I'll go back and forth on them. Once in a blue moon, I'll just go off the fucking rails on the personal side. Go on
48 things in the
Get
account
them all.
except
Yeah.
buy it all.
Sometimes I get weak and I just lose all self-control. But most of the time, like on a
Yeah.
personal side, it's just I don't really go too crazy on it. But then it's on the business side, something's $5,000, $10,000, $15,000. It's just like
Well, I feel like it's also looking at the numbers every day, which that can be good and bad. It can be nauseating. It's like you see you have a large amount going out within like 3 days. I'm just like, that's gross. And then it's like you go home, it's like, oh, it's like your house payment. I'm like, house payment's cheap now. I'm like, that ain't that bad.
Well, so like I said, it's just trying to figure out like the things that I don't even know, right? So another like, I don't even say milestone, but like eye-opening moment is like I came up with I didn't come up with it, but I figured out a strategy of how to like pay myself. So like a set, like actual, like a set salary instead of like, oh, I'll take this and I'll take that. And then just like you said, now all of a sudden we're totally separate, right?
Yeah.
The business is operating on its own and we're, operating on our own. And
Which I do think it was the point where I really separated myself was when MMG became an S Corp. When you become an S Corp, like I'm a W-2 employee of
Sure.
MMG, like I get
It's
a
3
K1.
years. Dan didn't take a
Yeah.
paycheck for 3 years. And once we went W-2, our CPA, he's like,
To
you need to
S
take a
corp.
check.
Yeah, once we like put payroll into
Right.
place, we did all these
Yeah.
things. He's like, you have to do X, Y, and Z. And like that actually helped me separate where it's
Yeah.
like, I'm on payroll. This is what I take home. I can take distributions. And
Yeah.
that's how the company's ran. But it's like my wife sells real estate. I see real estate agents that have really high highs and
Sure.
really low lows.
Yeah.
And it's like, they don't think about taxes or anything else. Like she is set on payroll at a fucking fifth of what she makes a year.
Yeah.
That's what comes into our household every single month. And then she can take her profit distributions out each quarter. She pays her taxes every quarter. Like we both run our companies very similar, but it also just makes it where we're employees of our companies, but it's in a way that it keeps it disconnected, that you're running
Sure.
a bigger, just the way that you formulate it. And it's like the company movement is a whole separate thing.
Right.
Like you're moving this machine around.
Yeah.
But it's, you have your money that you can take home. And then if you're moving this machine right, then that distribution check can become bigger.
Yeah.
But it's like, you don't rob from it heavily ever.
Well, not only, it's that, but for me, it's also like, I think about this nonstop, right? And I've even kind of recognized over like the past year, I have got to the point where like, not that I don't want to go do other stuff, but like, I'm really happy doing what I'm doing, like on a daily basis. Like you want to, somebody invites me to go do something and it's like, it's not like a kid activity or, like vacation. I was like, I just stay at home and just do my normal everyday thing, but you disconnect from it a little bit because if I'm set up the way I'm set up and the business is set up completely separate, well, if we do, if we have a great month, well, great. And if we have maybe not such a great month, I go home and it's like, oh, things are still just normal, right?
Yeah.
It's all the same, so it relieves some of that stress of like,
Yeah,
Oh shit! What are we gonna freaking do?
you're not riding
You
the
know?
roller coaster all
Yeah,
the time,
exactly.
and I think that's just the roller coaster of life. That, I mean, I watch these real estate agents that take this roller coaster, and like,
Yeah.
Madison she doesn't care where the market's at on a given
Yeah.
month. Like, it's the market. She knows what she's going to do yearly. It's like, we know what we're pacing. It's like,
Yeah.
my money take home is like, it's there. It covers the
Yeah.
personal side. Then it's like, personal side, I can be conservative. I can do what we do on a personal
Yeah.
side, but then on the business side, we can get as risky as we want.
Yeah.
Like, when we have additional money in, that's the time to move the pieces forward. That's the time to get up at the table and bet.
Yeah.
But
that makes things, for me, stressful is not the word, because it's still stressful and you still think about it all the time, but it's like maybe like just a little peace of mind in the back of your head. You're like, no matter what, it's like, you come home and kind of disconnect a little bit. It's like, oh, we're good.
Yeah. And I think it's a peace of mind that I tell everyone, like, success is found on the other side of discomfort. Like, you have to get uncomfortable to go find it.
Sure.
But it's also, I have ease in my life when I can bring ease to Madison, where it's like, that's where I find my ease on the home forefront.
Sure.
Where it's like, when I was in the car business, I worked on stacking away 3 years of bills. Like, and it's like, I want to invest money. I want to do all that stuff. But the ease came to Madison, where I've had people like, you invest, you do that. I'm like, I invest a lot of money, but it's also like, there's this peace of mind that it gives her.
Yeah.
The value point to me on that is priceless.
Yeah.
Like, I can invest, I can do everything else, but that they're sitting there for her.
Yeah.
Makes it so she sleeps better at night and she never worries about anything and it never comes my way. And I'm like, it makes my home forefront phenomenal.
Yeah.
I'm like, so that's one thing I don't touch. Like, it's there. It's for her. I think it's crazy that money sits there and just fucking loses every year. And it is what it is.
Yeah, it's there.
But
Gain at 9% yearly.
yeah, I know. Yeah. Yes. You don't even start that fight.
Yeah. I'm actually kind of with you or her or whoever on that standpoint. I mean, we still do a fair amount of the real estate stuff, so there's like a lot of talk about interest rates now and interest rates before, and, we're not going to pay this off because the money's so cheap. And it's like, yeah, I mean, I get that, but at the same time, there's some stuff that's real nice to have paid off, no matter how cheap the money is, right? It's just, makes you feel good.
Yeah. And I don't know, I always go back and forth on different days depending on how I'm feeling. And it's
well, I lived that. So when we were doing this phone sale, I keep saying when I was doing the phone sales, when I was doing the seminar thing, it's 100% commission based, right? So it is the roller coaster, right? And some of it depends on how good you are, and some of it also depends on if you get sent to the middle of Oklahoma or South Dakota or somewhere where there's no people. Well, if there's not very many people in the room, you're not going to have very many sales, right? So some of it doesn't depend on you. So to have like that peace of mind of a little bit of comfort, a little bit of ease makes a huge difference.
Yeah, which I was talking about it to a guy last week that, I mean, I've been commission based my whole entire career. I've never known anything different. Like MMG, it's all at the seat I sit in is still commission based.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care how you look at it. And it's like everything I've always done is commission based. There's never been a guarantee on anything, but it's just, it also builds a self-confidence level in you that it's like, you take on a hell of a fight, and like the great times are great, but it also puts you in a dark place that no one really knows what that place looks like except for you.
Yeah.
And it's like going to experience that place is something that's the battleground that champions are made at. And it's like, it's a place that a lot of people get to. And that's when that flight mode turns on. Yeah. Like, I'm getting the fuck out of here. And it's like, or
bad times are really bad.
Or it's a time that people get in there and they say it's fucking go time and it's time to put the fight in and build something different. And that's experiencing that place. I've experienced it a lot of times, and it's something that once you come through it, that's where motivation, that's where drive, that's where those early mornings, the late nights, that's where it all comes together. And when people are like, well, why do you put in what you put in? And it's like, go experience that place. And once you get there, I'll know why you do it. But I definitely think we could sit on here and talk for hours. It's amazing how fast, like an hour and a half, like blows by.
It is fast. I don't even know what time it is.
Yeah. What we got? 8:30, 8:20. Pretty fast timing. But if you could go back and give yourself one word of advice I kind of hit this once in a while.
I was like, I don't know the last
It's
time
been
you
a
said
while.
that.
It's been a while. But I
Self-advice.
also think just for like from this conversation, like I think you've had so much development, so much movement, and in a shorter period of time too on the entrepreneurial space. Like if you go back to yourself the day you were starting this, what would you tell yourself?
That's a tough one.
See, I always wait for a real loaded question right there at the end.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's I'm a firm believer that, you basically get in what you get out what you put in, right? So you talk about quality of work, you can talk about growing the business, you can talk about sales, you can talk about whatever you want. I mean, it's really, you put your head down and get to work, and that's where the magic happens, right? It doesn't matter, the leads that are coming in or, the processes that you have. I mean, all that stuff sounds great, but unless you're like actually doing the work, then none of it matters, right?
Yep.
So, and not that I've really learned that. I mean, I think I learned that a long time ago, but you just kind of, I guess I fall back on that a lot, I guess, whether things are going good or going bad. It's like, hey, what did I actually do today?
Yeah.
I read something, this is a Hormozy quote I saw, I don't know, a week or 2 weeks ago or something. It said something to the effect of like, people need to do a better job of like, they already know enough, like implement what you know and quit worrying about like being taught.
Yep.
Right. Which I think that's a big part of it. I mean, you got to learn new stuff, but on the same token, there's so many things that I know that I should be doing that I'm not, just in life in general, that if I was just doing those things and I never learned anything else, like things would be pretty good.
Yeah.
And on all fronts, right? Health wise, family wise, money wise, so just kind of lean into that. Hey, even though I struggle a lot to learn new stuff and you're kind of beating your head against the wall when you're trying to grow, on the same token, it's like, man, if I just do all this shit that I already know I should be doing anyways,
So I think
things will be pretty good.
To that note, I think there's a lot of people too. I've experienced it with a lot of the reading and the books that I go through and I listen to, is there's majority of these entrepreneurial and these business books, there's not a tactical thing to take away to implement into business today. Yeah. Or a lot of them are so high level that you can't wrap your head around. Yeah. They're talking well into 9-figure companies, right, and they're like, you need to be doing this, this, and this. You're like, yeah, with what fucking money? That sounds awesome that I could hire a whole board. Where am I going to find this whole board that all makes $250,000 a year? Sounds great. Yeah. Like, so to a spot, like I've always been very much in the learning state, but it's also, I'm very much like when I start seeking mentorship of like, what are the tactical things that I can put in place now to move the needle forward? Yeah. That's like, I feel like I was learning a lot. I didn't know how to directly implement it into what we were doing. Yeah. Where it's like, and there's also a spot where you read a lot of things that they hit at different times in business. Yeah. I've read things that I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do that. Duh. Yeah. And I read it again like 2 years later. I'm like, oh shit, totally forgot to do that. Yeah. We should do that. Yeah. So I think just understanding when to implement those things and just always staying at work. Yeah. Where you keep your head down, you don't lay off that side of it, but then also understanding where to direct your work as you progress. Yeah. That I'm still guilty of it, and I end up out on a camera and I end up on a computer editing and things like that. It's not the best use of my time. Yeah. And it's like, but I like doing it sometimes. Yeah. I like doing those things. I like showing the company I can still do the different facets of everything. Yeah. But no, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah. Well, I think in the long run too, like the people, if I think about the people that I know that are, have been really successful in whatever facet, it's like, it's really easy to go hard for like a week. It's kind of like going to the gym, right? Yeah. You get all excited and go hard for January or whatever. But it's like the people that went, they were doing it every day in and day out, not for a month, not for a year, but
consistency wins. Yeah.
My dad's told me this multiple times. He's like, one of these days, he's like, you just keep doing what you're doing and keep doing what you're doing. And one of these days, all of a sudden, you're going to look up and you're going to be 50 and you're going to have, you're going to have all this stuff, right? And you're not even going to know where it came from, right? You're going you're going to feel like you're grinding. And then all of a sudden you're going to be like, oh shit, it worked.
Yeah.
Right? So I kind of hang my hat on that sometimes too. It's like, just keep freaking.
And then your ambitions are going to be higher at that
Yeah.
point. You're going to be like, but what if we do this over the next 5 years?
Yeah. And that's, I think a lot of it, I always kept my head down. I still do it, but it's also, I'm becoming more tactical of where I'm going, becoming more disciplined on where I'm going and what is the outcome that I'm looking for and how do I reverse engineer it to make it a reality. And I think that I've always been the hard worker in the room. I've been the one that's been able to put my head down and get the job done, things like that. But then there's sometimes that you put those big lofty goals out there and to get there, something has to change.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
There's something that to yield that outcome, that what is happening today does not get us to that next spot.
Yeah.
Where then it's like, I'm back at the drawing board of like, how do we get here?
Yeah.
Like, what is the next thing we have to implement? How do we have to implement that? What more do I need to learn? Who do I need to seek out advice from on how to execute that and do it right? Yeah. But it's just, it's hard sometimes.
All those things, whether you're looking for, mentors or help, or whether you realize, hey, we need to change this direction or we need to go in this direction, it's all still work.
Oh, 100%.
Right? You know what I mean? That's kind of what I'm getting
This
at.
is work. Like we do this.
Yeah.
We've done this every week. We've dropped it for 145 weeks.
Yeah, that's a good run.
Like we have not missed a single week.
Yeah.
Like the consistency side, we've hit taco reviews for 90 plus weeks. We have not missed one.
Yeah.
Like consistency wins, like putting in the work, doing what needs to be done. But it's also where early days I thought knocking doors was, and we're putting efforts into those things, which now I know that my time's more well spent doing an ad or doing something for social that can go reach 10, 15, 20,000 people every single day. That there's no physical way that I can go out and do that myself. Yeah. It's not possible. Yeah. Unless I'm selling out Arrowhead or something, which I don't think anyone's going to pay to hear me singing there.
You're going to be reviewing tacos and Arrowhead, man. The day will come.
We'll set you up, man. You just, you guys want to review tacos like Dane?
Yeah.
Buy this book.
Here's the taco reviewing guide.
It's perfect.
But no, I very much appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me over.
Love watching what you're doing in business. Great product, great service. It speaks for itself.
Thank you.
So it makes our job a lot easier.
Yeah. Well, you guys are making parts of my job easier.
Great product, great service. Always outdoes great marketing.
Yeah.
And coming from the marketing people, nobody ever says that.
Yeah. No, you guys are killing it. So it's making it's been good for business. All is good. It's making me grow. It's making me work harder as far as figuring out, the right processes and the right way to go and direction, and so it's good.
Cool. Awesome. Keep killing it. Thank you, Dry Logan.
Glad I could be done here.
Yeah. That's M3 Podcast. Peace.
Thanks for listening to the M3 Podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. Want to learn more? Check us out on Instagram at Moss Marketing Group, on Facebook at Moss Marketing 58, or on our website at mossmarketinggroup.com.